Go!
3, 2, 1, ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 3, 2, 1, ghost. I feel like I start every episode with the same kind of cadence, but if you do something so many times and it sounds good and it feels good, just let it happen. Welcome to 3, 2, 1, ghost. My name's Kyle. I'm your host with a silent G, joined by my pal Natalie, my co-host. How are you?
Hi. I think it sounds great. Keep doing
Thank
it.
you.
Same way
That's
you
what I
always
was.
have.
Yeah, it was kind of my way of just asking. I just wanted to hear you say it. I'm committed to recording.
Just present it to the team.
Yeah, sure.
The team.
The board.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Welcome to 3, 2, 1, Ghost. Today we are talking about a movie that I love very much, that I've seen, gosh, I couldn't tell you how many times. Another Robert Zemeckis adjacent movie. He didn't direct this one, but we're talking about 1996's Frighteners, directed by Peter Jackson and written by Peter Jackson and his movie partner, also his romantic partner, Fran Walsh.
I didn't know that.
It's very sweet. So
Still?
I just love it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's a power couple. I just love. Actually, I can't say that. I'm gonna look and find out that they got separated, but hopefully under amicable terms. Yeah, we'll run it of the research team. We don't have to bother ourselves with that sort of stuff. We don't have to get involved with that drama. It's their job. I just like the idea of couples just connecting and coming up with spooky stories together. That sounds kind of nice.
I think that's a rare find to find somebody that you are creatively linked with and to the point that you're both writers of screenplays.
Yeah. Love that.
I mean, maybe that's a common thing, but I feel like, a lot of people work off of opposites attract. So good for them.
Definitely. I think my wife and I, she's very creative. Just not in the same ways that I'm creative. And it's kind of interesting just to kind of hear her approach and her perspective of things. She's a writer. She writes a lot. She was even part of this this group that was basically just, I forget how many what the word count was, but it was something like 40,000-50,000 words or something. I don't know, that she did over a month. It might even be less than that. I don't even know. I have no concept of
how many words is what.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Whereas
we're not writers.
Yeah. Whereas me, I just have a keyboard and write spooky tunes. So,
great.
Spooky podcast tunes. So it's a different type of artistic brilliance, but a couple, what is it? What did Rocky say? You got gaps, I got gaps. We both got gaps. So I think that's right. Okay, so let me pause right there. We're talking
about Rocky.
Yeah. So welcome to 3, 2, 1 Rock. Going through all of the Rocky movies, and there's certainly plenty. Let's take a pause before we dive too deep into the Frighteners, a movie I love that I will gush a lot about. Sorry, spoiler alert, everybody. Any housekeeping? What's the pulse? How are things looking out on the streets these days?
Yeah, we don't do a lot of housekeeping reports, but our listeners are not as vocal as I would like them to be. Please, y'all, reach out. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't. What do you want us to talk about? But I did get some interesting, conflicting listener feedback. So we have a listener that I know has listened to every episode. Shout out to Chris. And he shared, that if an episode gets too heavy on the recap, too procedural, it can get a little bit daunting. But then on the flip side, we had another listener share that they feel we don't recap enough. And I have some thoughts, but I'm curious what you think, Kyle, of the balance there.
I'm definitely more inclined to believe the person who encourages my rambling and tangents. So the first one, that one sounds more right. I feel more comfortable with that.
I agree on that piece, but then I also, you know, how I thought about it and how I would like share with anyone who's like, gosh, I really thought I knew more about this movie, and as you're walking through it, I realize I don't remember as much of the plot, because that happens to me sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts. I thought I had seen it enough times. I kind of go into it with the thought that you either just recently watched the movie that we're talking about, or you've seen it several times. So, if we're not as procedural, you could listen to it. You could listen to a conversation being facilitated about that movie and not so much step by step, like what the film does. So, you might get a little bit of both depending on what type of movie we're talking about.
The magician never reveals the secrets, right? You never the hot dog maker does not open his factory doors, their
That
or her
they should
factory
not.
doors. So I think both are very common adages. You don't, but I will say, especially because here we are gearing towards the end of the year. We're certainly in a period of reflection, and in a period where people, tend to, kind of recalibrate, reset, but also it's a period where people say that but don't actually do it. So I'm going to be out front saying I'm going to do my best to take the input to heart and make the adjustments. Maybe the thing is, honestly, it just depends. Like I said, I don't, magician doesn't reveal his secrets, but I was also a very big fan of that TV series on Fox, Magician's Greatest Secrets Revealed, where that one asshole in the hat was just like, or in the mask was like, I'm just going to spoil it
Isn't
for
that
everybody.
like going against the code of magicians? Like, is that actually a real thing, or am I just making that up?
No, yeah, I mean that's definitely like the number one. I mean, I just magician doesn't reveal their secrets. It's the.
Wow, that's really
I'm
fucked
pretty
up.
sure it's. I'm pretty sure it's a commandment. I think, or at least one of the early draft 10 Commandments. But so in the spirit of that, I mean, I'll tell you, like I'm going off Wikipedia. I watched the movie a couple times. Usually I'll have the movie, I think I brought this up before, I'll have the movie playing on silent behind the screen where we're talking, so I'm seeing beautiful Jeffrey Combs just kill it as always. And yeah, so I just kind of use Wikipedia, which also, by the way, the first time, and I really want to, I'm just starting to feel bad, I finally gave Wikipedia money.
I have
They always
done
have those
that.
ads at the top, and I was like,
I know. They do so much for us. Everyone should give Wikipedia money.
and then maybe if we start making money off this, then I can write it off on my taxes as a business expense, right? So it all kind of works out. But I like that. I think that we can, never mind. I'm gonna respond with any promises.
Yeah, no promises. I think the feedback is always important, and we'll always share it. And I think we're more organized than people think we are, and also less organized than you all might think we are. So, it's all about balance. The other interesting thing, a question that's been posed is, would we talk about horror television shows, which I think we're totally open to. We just haven't crossed that bridge yet.
I would like to volley a follow-up question back to their side of the tennis court, pickleball court, pong screen, as you will, air hockey table, whatever metaphor you'd like to use. I'm on one tonight. I'm sorry. It just depends. I'd really like to hear like people like follow up. It's like, would you rather like, like if we did, like, first of all, love to hear what TV shows y'all want us to do. And two, you want like an episode by episode situation, or do you want like want us to do like a big 2.5 hour thing going over the whole season of a television show? Like, I don't know what would be more more fun for people? I've seen other podcasts do it differently, but that's
That's a
something we
great
can do.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I think that's a good question. I think the only other thing was more creature features, which I think is an easy box to check.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We love creature
Absolutely.
features.
I mean, gosh, yeah, Tremors is one of my absolute favorites.
That might be the first big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's the housekeeping. What I
Hmm.
got.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's reel this back. We want to talk more a little about television. This movie, you know, has some relationship to a television show in the sense where when it was originally conceived, they were talking about it being either an episode of Tales from the Crypt, which Robert Zemeckis was also producing,
Mm.
or to be a Tales from the Crypt film, kind of like a, you
Oh,
know,
I didn't know that.
Demon Knight, Bordello of Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just the ones that come off the top of my head. What
Those are
are
great.
some of the other Tales from the Crypt movies? Do you remember?
Those are the two that I know the best.
Yeah, me too. For some reason, I think
Um,
there's another one.
Something fun about this movie that I thought would be like not trivia, but curious to know if you even noticed this. Did you note the release date of this movie?
Yeah, it's on my ninth birthday.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I wasn't
This
sure if you knew.
the and that was after a vote of confidence again. Thanks, Wikipedia. Vote of confidence from Universal, where they were like, "Hey, we were going to release this shit like, in the doldrums of September or whatever, but they were like, this shit's fucking, this shit hits. It's good. Let's put this right in the middle of July. I don't like having a summer birthday. I'm told I'm very obviously a Cancer, but I don't really understand any of those sorts of things.
Yeah,
Um,
me either.
but one, it's hard having a July birthday because you don't get to celebrate in school. You don't get to bring cupcakes for the class and get that kind of situation.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And some of the kids, it's just especially growing up in the 90s, it's harder to kind of keep in touch, and people can't come to your birthday because they're at their grandma's house for the summer, or they're on vacation with their families, and blah 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 blah. Or I think maybe they just didn't want to come to my birthday. That also could have been very true too,
That's
and they just made that up. But
that sounds likely.
yeah, and then growing up in San Diego, oh, I hate how hot it gets. I hate it, especially where
Yeah.
we went to middle school and high school, which is north of San Diego. Where it's just like, Jesus, those summers, man, it's over 100 through July through October. It's awful. And
Okay. You know what's really cool? I'll
mhm,
give a shout out to the San Diego Unified School District. I had said that I thought that it was sad that there are kids who have summer birthdays, and I was like, oh, they don't get to bring cupcakes? That's whack. And my son told me they celebrate their half birthdays so that they can still have like a special day in class with their classmates, and they get to wear the little birthday hat and bring their birthday treats. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I think that's a sweet thing to do.
my half birthday and your husband's birthday are like a day away.
Oh yeah, how cute.
That'd
I
be
love
fun.
that.
And then he'd be
Love
like, no,
that.
it's my birthday weekend.
Yeah.
Step the fuck back.
We're gonna watch horror movies all weekend.
Though he doesn't seem like the type to get really protective about his birthdays unless he can
No.
leverage it for something
Yeah,
that he
absolutely.
wants to do.
Good call.
So, but yeah, so gosh, I don't know. It was a summer of especially July of 96. That was popping.
Did you see this in the theater?
No, unfortunately.
What was rated R? I can't figure out why this movie is rated R.
I was going to ask you about that. This movie was originally supposed to be PG-13. And that was, and I know Peter Jackson did everything he could, in editing to be like, keep the violence down. But I was thinking, and I remember when I recommended this movie to watch, and you were asking like, can my kid watch it with me? And I'm like, this movie is like the most child-friendly R-rated movie I've ever
Yeah.
seen. And I wonder, and I was curious, you're saying it, hinting at it a little bit, but I'm curious to kind of hear your thoughts about that. Like, does this movie like deserve an R rating?
Okay, so I was thinking a lot about this as I was watching it. In the way, like, would I let my 8-year-old watch it? Absolutely. I don't think that this, as a horror fan and knowing like movies that he can handle, he totally would have been fine watching this, and I think he would have found it very amusing. But I did screen it first before I let him watch it. So I was like, I'll definitely let him watch it later. But what I think might be the cause of the R rating, it's pretty violent in that hospital scene, the flashback to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably the most intense part because it's actual living people being killed rather than like, it's a lot of ghost on ghost violence, and no, there's no blood, like with the hearts being grabbed. So although the sketching of the etching of the numbers in the forehead, for some reason, I was like, oh, I don't like that. I do not like that. Don't carve into me. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't like, yeah, I definitely don't like being marked for things.
No.
That doesn't sound good.
And then you can imagine being a ghost with that forever. So yeah, I don't think that it deserves an R rating. Maybe in 1996 it did, but this movie has super duper like 80s feeling to me. Like it feels like a movie that you would watch in the late 80s, like in a good way, or maybe early 90s rather than 96. Maybe
Yeah,
that's just me.
I do feel like the movie acts a little bit kind of, yeah, I'm getting, you know, hmm, fun spooky movies like
Hmm.
keep on saying like Ghoul Squad. What the fuck is the name of that movie?
Monster
Monster
Squad.
Squad. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like those sorts
Or
of
even
vibes.
like Fright Night
Fright
vibes,
Night.
even. Yeah.
Right. So, but that's just what I love. And honestly, and this is why like Robert Zemeckis, and I know there are a lot of people involved in all these movies, but Robert Zemeckis is a real one because just really late into 1996, and even yeah, just like the 90s, like I'm thinking fucking Death Becomes Her.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie too, just keeping the horror comedies alive,
They're
which
so
is
good.
great.
And this is the fun thing about that connection is when we covered Death Becomes Her, you had never seen it. And it was one of my favorites as a kid and to this day. And then now we can flip that because I had not watched this movie since I was maybe 12, and it's one of your favorites. So it felt like a first time watch. Like I couldn't believe how little I remembered, and also like how many people in the cast I love that I even forgot were in it. So um that was pretty exciting.
You have a pretty good fucking roster of people in this
So good.
movie. So first you got, fucking Michael J. Fox, right?
Uh
Who
can
gosh, I
he
think
be an industry legend even though he had a lot of like leading roles?
yeah, sure. We
Yeah,
make the rules.
yeah, I
Go for
think
it.
he's an industry legend.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael J. Fox.
Absolutely. And
Poor
really
cutie.
only in one horror movie, which
Yeah,
is this
I
one.
don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit. He's cool. Yeah. We make the rules. Who the fuck
Yeah,
cares?
yeah,
It's yeah, I don't know.
come
It's
at
like
us.
don't take our boo scores to heart. I don't know. I just come up with them as I go. So, so okay, so maybe you are a little unorganized, fine. But this yeah, you got Michael J. Fox. Um well, Trini Alvarado, who I loved, is Lucy. She's great.
Hmm.
I know
I don't know
she's in
her from
like
anything else.
she was in something like near there, like maybe like some I think it was like a version of like Little Women or something. Let's
That makes
see.
sense that I would
Yeah,
not know
yeah,
her
yeah.
from that.
There was a adaptation of Little Women a couple years before that's really popular. Um,
The one with Winona Ryder.
yeah, I think so. John Aston, who is, I mean, fucking awesome. I mean, I knew him best from being Gomez Adams.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Also, he's like the low-key MVP of this movie because his performance as the judge is so wonky. Like I don't know. I really enjoy his his whole thing going
His
on.
whole aura. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about him desecrating that corpse
I
and
was going to
saying,
ask you when he says, I like it when they lie still like that. I was like, I wrote down, what? Is that what I think
yeah,
he's saying? Okay.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
he
wanted to
raped
make
that
sure
dead
that
body.
was one of my questions. I do have some questions about this movie because it's a lot. Like there's a lot going on in this movie. So maybe this one would be a good example of a movie. Like if you haven't recently watched it, give it a view before we start jumping around because shit gets crazy
It
and
is really good.
quickly.
Gosh, and of course, you got John Aston, who, and honestly, I'm just gonna be throwing this out, industry legend John Aston.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
He's an industry legend. Come on,
I, w-
Gomez.
I wonder if he was like, look, I'll sit in this makeup chair for 5 hours a day and do this, but you got to put my little baby boy in your Lord of the Rings movies, please. So,
I
and then he was
didn't
just like, yeah,
even
sure.
make that connection.
Yeah, sure. I think that's what everyone. Well, I don't know. People got to know Sean Astin better for Sam than for Rudy. I think at this point, right? I don't even know how many people watch Rudy now. I don't
I
know.
mean, I feel like we were all forced to watch it in high school for some reason. I don't remember what the context was or anything.
I mean, I don't know.
Right? That's
So,
the only time I've ever seen Rudy.
so yeah, industry legends: Michael J. Fox, John Astin, and then fuck the other. Just like I can't call him an MVP of this movie, Jeffrey Combs, because Jeffrey Combs he's on the set and he's in the same spot as other actors and he's talking about characters that are in this film,
Uh-huh.
but outside of that he's acting in a completely different movie. He is somewhere else. His reality is I don't know where. Who came up with this character? Why is he here? I love him. Milton Dammers, he's so cool
His
and
whole
awful.
story is so confusing to me. He's another one I have a lot of questions for. So we'll get there when we get there, but I absolutely agree. I think Jeffrey Combs is so delightfully weird in this movie and half of his character makes sense and then the other half I'm like what the fuck was that about and what relevance does this have to this film? What?
I know
I said
it's
what
so
a
good.
lot.
You're good. And then just really quick, is it Chi or Chai McBride? I'm not sure. Chi McBride.
I
He
don't
he
know.
kicks ass. He's and then Jim Fife as Cyrus and Stewart. The two other buddy ghosts.
Oh
Who
yeah, yeah.
I think sometimes some of the one-liners from them are kind of like okay,
They're meh.
they're
Yeah,
meh.
that they
But
feel very 80s. They feel very
yeah,
80s to me the way those characters are written for sure.
yeah. And then maybe not industry legend, maybe, but just low key kind of MVP. Definitely like I don't know, Jake Busey. And Jake Busey
I
is,
love Jake Busey. He gets an industry legend, I think.
and I get the vibes like, it's a very like Matthew Lillard vibes from Jake Busey.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're just
Unhinged young white man.
yeah. But and I can't even tell you
Here to
actually that
party.
many. I can't even tell you how many things Jake Busey's been in, but I will tell you just the late '90s, like the 1-2 punch of this and Starship Troopers. Um,
Yes.
he
Yes.
he's cool, like
He is.
and Gary Busey. I don't know. I've always seen Gary Busey is in a few different things, but Gary Busey's Gary Busey.
Yeah.
He's not in this movie, so we're not going to be talking about this. But yeah,
No,
just
Jake
gosh,
Busey's great.
and then plenty of like cameos from like a lot of character actors, and other people that collaborate with Peter Jackson. But yeah, the cast is really fun, and that sells it a lot. I think everybody's having a lot of fun with it, even if Jeffrey Combs is like operating on some other orbit.
Okay, you know who you forgot about? You know who you
Who?
forgot about? Dee Wallace, who plays Patricia.
What is she from?
So, okay, when I saw her, I did not recognize her with this fucking wig. She's in so much random horror, but she's also like been in E.T. and she was in The Howling. And that's actually like a reference that they make in Scream, where she says,
Mhm.
"What's the werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom?" And he says, "The Howling." And I realized that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Dee Wallace." But this is super weird. She was also, I can't believe this is the second time we're bringing up this fucking movie. She was also in that shitty 13 fanboy movie. And I
Oh
was
boy.
like, wait, why is she in this movie? She's never been in a Friday the 13th movie. She's just been in a lot of horror movies and a lot of shitty horror movies too. So I would give Dee Wallace a little industry legend as well. Like if you look at her IMDb, it is wild.
Hell yeah. Let's give
But
her the
she's
industry
great in
legend.
this. She's so great in this.
Yeah, she's really fun. I was like getting like Mary McDonnell vibes from her a little
Yeah.
bit. She's cool. Yeah, the 13 fanboy thing, I would only assume just because it felt like that movie was made out of conversations at horror conventions where they're like, hey, why don't we just like do this? And then like Dee Wallace's, booth was probably just right next door, and she was like,
She's
oh,
like, can
I'll
I
be
get
in
in on
your,
this?
yeah, I'll get in your movie. And then just like, we don't fucking care. Fuck the rules.
Yeah.
So I like that. But yeah, there's just a lot of great people in this movie. Let me circle back to my notes. So I mean, the whole conceit of the movie is that Michael J. Fox, his name's Frank Bannister, which is also kind of a cool name.
That's a great name.
That's a pretty hard name. That's a good leading character name. Um, he can see ghosts. He can communicate with ghosts, talk with them, befriend them. And this is
Mm-hmm.
after a car accident that happens 6 years prior,
Mm-hmm.
involving his wife, which is really sad. I liked how Jeffrey Combs talked about the story. I just love when it like goes to like flashbacks to kind of help tell the story, and it's in
Yeah.
that like I
It
don't
has
know.
a
It's
lot
not.
of flashbacks, this movie.
Yeah.
It's like
And
four.
I personally was a big fan of Michael J. Fox's haircut.
Oh my God, the long hair. I know.
I know. Well, just
It's
like
like
the long hair
it
and
felt very
that
like
like
Doc Brown. I don't know if that was like
the long
intentional, but
hair, the big shoulder coat, the like pattern, like almost like one of those like Jerry Garcia ties from the 90s.
yeah.
Just loved it. Love that vibe.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
so and just wanted his basketball court. He's like, I put it you can put a garden. There's that property is large.
You could put a
Um
garden fucking anywhere. Like I'm not super pro like putting up a basketball court any which way, but like yeah, you could put the garden anywhere.
the challenge, funny, like the more I watch this movie, it really mostly just like the last two times I watched this to prepare for the episode, I'm like, you know, yes, Michael J. Fox is your leading guy and he is the hero, of your story. But yeah, he's a real asshole in the beginning of this.
Yeah, he is. I did enjoy though seeing him drive through that fence, not once, but twice. That
Yeah,
actually gave me probably the biggest laugh when he drives through the fence again, because he did not need to at all.
I know. He's just being such an asshole because he know
Yeah.
because he knows he's just gonna like work this fucking con. And
Yeah.
so he can talk to ghosts and he decides, and also, and he's an architect. That's what he was doing before, but now he's not really doing much
Mhm.
architecting. And he lives in his like half-built house. You can and
Which is interesting. And he eats blueberry cereal.
I love
I
that.
don't know if you noticed that.
So does he have to like stock up for the year? Because even then, like I remember trying to do that with Thin Mints, being like, well, if I just buy $100 worth of Thin Mints, I'll be
Mhm.
good for the year. But the expiration date sneaks up closer than you'd think on
But
Girl
you know
Scout
what?
cookies.
Stick those puppies in the freezer. They're delicious and it will preserve them longer.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe I should get one of those like kind of, those like floor like deep
There you
freezers,
go. Yeah.
and then I'll just put it in my basement and
Mhm.
just stack it full of Thin Mints.
Yes. Your
Because I
wife
mean,
is going to be so happy about this plan.
I know, because we still have like a few months until
Girl
they
Scout cookie
start
season.
putting those girls to work.
Oh, man.
So where was I? So instead of continuing to be an architect, and instead of using this newfound power for any sort of good, he's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm gonna fake hauntings. I'm gonna scam people when they're at their most vulnerable.
I love that. Good for him.
Just showing up to the funeral, handing out business cards. I love it. Now the
He
only
could
thing
be
is I
making way more money though if he was doing a better job at this. Like if you're gonna do this con, like fucking play that shit up. Like he could be like doing like I don't know. He's in the same town. Like he could be talking to the dead and actually like telling people what they're saying. I don't know. Miss Cleo
so
action.
my whole thing is just kind of understanding the rules of ghosts and ghosting in this movie. Um, I guess I just don't understand what Cyrus and Stewart and the judge are getting out of this. Like, it doesn't seem like what benefit are they getting?
Okay, so from what I gathered, when you die and your soul is out of your body, you get a very small window to be sucked up into that tunnel that's going to take you to heaven or hell if that's where you're going. And if you don't do that, you have to wait a whole nother year. He says that you get like next year, on the anniversary of your death, I'm guessing. You have to stay, but you have to stay at the cemetery, is what I'm understanding. But for some reason, Michael J. Fox was able to sneak them out of the cemetery. So he's like, let's do some work. And he said, yeah. And they were like, oh, well, we don't have to stay at the cemetery because they can stay with him instead while they wait for their little tunnel to come again. That's how the pieces I put together.
It's kind of like a employer paid healthcare. It's like you can either sign up for it when you first get hired, and if not, though, you got to wait till every open enrollment each time.
That is
So kind of
exactly what it is.
so,
That's
but
fucked
then
up.
you're supposed to believe that Cyrus died in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So how many years has he just been like, I'm good? If it happens once a year,
I mean,
you know
maybe
what I
he
mean?
just likes being amongst the living.
And the judge has been dead for how long?
Oh my gosh, for so long. And then I think what is the other one's name? Stu.
Yeah,
He
Stewart.
looks like he died in the 80s because he's got like some shoulder pad action going on.
Oh, I was guessing 50s because of just like the real like tight kind of like, greased
Hmm.
hair and the what do you call that jacket that
Yeah, it
high
could be. And
school
his
Letterman jacket?
glasses. Yeah, his glasses too. Yeah, you could be right. It could be 50s. Yeah.
So I was getting 50s vibe, like kind of like Richie Cunningham vibes.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, that's
but
a good question. Why would they stick around for so long?
and they don't explain that. And what can you do? I don't know if I necessarily need to,
Yeah,
I never linger on
that's
it for too
fine.
long when I watch it. But so the other thing too, the town where so this is filmed in New Zealand. Um,
Hmm.
one thing I noticed was pretty funny was that they, Peter Jackson was like, "Hey, I really want to film this in New Zealand, and I really want, New Zealand crews and New Zealand like effects teams on this, like a
Hmm.
Weta, which is his big, special effects company, that's been only around for a couple of years, I think, at that point. Um, but and Universal was like, yeah, okay, but you have to make it look like a Midwest town, like any Midwest American town. I mean, I don't know if you've been through the Midwest too much. Does it look like that town?
No, it's flat, right? Like it'd be
Right?
flat.
I was thinking
Yeah,
like
because
maybe
those
at
houses are
best.
very like stacked. Like they look stacked like on a hill. I
Yeah.
actually thought it was California just based off of the way that those houses were laid out, like somewhere, I don't know, somewhere in LA. But
I was thinking maybe somewhere in like, I don't know, like like northeast, like kind of like Maine or Massachusetts or something. I don't know, just something more on the because I just thought it was funny. I was like, well, it clearly isn't Midwest because like there's clearly like, you know, the sea and boats.
yeah.
And I mean, I know there's like, Great Lakes, right? But also those were not lakes. And then also there's like an island there.
Yeah, like it doesn't I mean, it looks cute. Like it looks like a lovely little town, but I wouldn't think it was the Midwest at all.
It looks a little bit more like the Pacific Northwest too. There's some towns around here that definitely, certainly give out that vibe. None that I can think of that are that close to the water. No, there's some like, along like the Oregon coast too. That
Yeah.
it might kind of maybe be like a little bit like, but gosh, with how many people die in this movie? Because the idea is that, Johnny Bartlett and fuck, what's the
Patricia.
Patricia? I was like, what's Steve Wallace's character's name? Oh, yeah, Patricia. So
Mhm.
they kill 12 people, setting the idea of maybe a then record at the time. Yeah, it's wild to
Mhm.
think that just just now with a mass shooting nearly every single day, here in America, it's sometimes hard to be like 12,
Yeah,
but
because
it's still a lot and it's very violent.
that would have been in the, it looked like it was like the 50s when that happened, or maybe later, 60s.
Maybe 80s, I forget, I don't know. Well, clearly we do a little bit of research, but not the
Yeah.
most. So he's trying to set this new record, and then you see that he's clearly been sticking around in Fairwater, for the decades since.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, gosh, I mean, well, how old is it's probably like 30 years, 20 years since then, because I'm thinking just the age of Patricia in the present day versus like when
Because
she was 15,
she was supposed to be 15, and she looks like she's maybe in
35,
her like
40.
30s. Yeah, like late 30s, early 40s.
So yeah, so that's so 70, something like that checks out. But
And they kind of put you under the impression, well, I mean, actually they might say this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it seems like they weren't sure if she had committed any of the murders. And they thought maybe it could have just been Johnny because she was an accomplice after the fact, is what I think the wording was.
yeah, an accessory
Yeah, an
after the fact or something
accessory
like
after
that.
the fact. So like that to me that implies that she didn't actually do any of the murdering herself,
Did
right?
you believe that even for a second though from the beginning? I mean, I know they try to really frame it like she's the victim from the beginning, but
I
I was
mean,
like, I bet this mother is going to be like right the whole time, and then it's going to be too late. She's going to be dead,
I thought what I thought was maybe she was just like the mastermind behind it and was like just getting him to kill for her instead of like the other way around where you would think that he was influencing her. But, maybe people would have believed that Patricia was evil if Mrs. Bradley wasn't such just a cold bitch. Like, could you just try to be like more reasonable when having conversations with people? It's like every time there's like a harbinger in a movie, they come off as like creepy, fucking weird. They're popping out of like over your shoulder, like, hey, and you're like, what? Who's gonna trust you? Like, what do you think you're gonna accomplish here? Like, you can't communicate with people that way. She's fucking awful.
I think of the guy running after Tess in Barbarian. Hey, little girl, little girl, little girl. You're just like,
Exactly. No one's gonna listen to you.
no one's
Like this is
gonna.
going to come up time and time again, like when we talk about horror. But I mean, I think there's an in between where you can be assertive and have urgency and not, scare the shit out of people. Because Mrs. Bradley, she gives off like evil stepmother vibes, like, you know.
I get pretty big Mary Shaw vibes from her.
Yeah, yeah,
With the hair with like the kind of like bumps up like this. It's very,
yeah. A little Mary Shaw action,
yeah.
absolutely. I
Maybe that's what
feel
happened to the judge's jaw. You know,
that.
maybe he screamed in front of Mary Shaw. He
Oh
doesn't
gosh.
explain that in the movie. Also one thing. So all right, a couple quick notes. So first of all, yeah. So he is killing beyond the grave, pretending to be the Grim Reaper, so
Hmm.
the ghosts would just not notice, right? Because he's like the ghost. I don't know who the ghost's gonna tell, and I don't know how ghosts holding each other accountable outside of
Hmm.
that one dude who, what's his name? I don't know. I'm sure everybody knows that classic dude that just always plays that army guy. you know?
Oh, Ronald Lee Ermey.
Okay. Which also, by the way, like if I'm like dead and I'm a ghost, like no one is fucking policing me. Get the fuck out. Like I am
And
not.
also, I'm not doing my fucking job that I had as a living person. I'm gonna go fucking haunt some motherfuckers. Like, I'm gonna have a field day out there. I'm gonna fuck with everybody who ever annoyed me. That's what I'm gonna do.
So he's been killing. So it was like 12 people that he killed when he was alive. So now 28 people, well, 28 plus. I think 20 it ends at 40. There are a
Mm-hmm.
few more because I'm not counting like Milton and some of the others. But gosh, with this town that small and death that happens that often, one, how is that not like a public emergency? And then two, gosh, do you imagine like how hard it would be to live on that funeral procession route? Like all that. I'm like, I can never leave. I can never get out of my fucking driveway. There's
Um,
always like 80 fucking cars
also,
driving through. And this is a small town. So it's not like there's big roads or that many ways to get out. So that that stood out to
what
me.
how are the police not making the connection of Patricia being released from the institution and then all of a sudden these murders ramp up? Like whether she's doing them herself with her own hands or she's working with someone else, which she has been known to do in the past, no one's making that connection. They say that it started up right when she got out.
I mean, I think it would be kind of hard to prove in court.
Yeah, but investigate her and then maybe you can find some evidence. Come on. I'm not a police officer, but like I would be doing some snooping around, some detective work,
I mean, this
anything.
is 1996. We're post OJ Simpson trial. I mean, if people aren't going to believe DNA in
I
1996, they're certainly
mean,
not
that
going
was that was
to
early on for
track
DNA.
these exploding hearts to this woman locked away at home. You know what I mean? So I hear you. I agree with you. I don't know if I have that faith, especially if the
No,
best they're
I
gonna
don't have faith in them.
the best they're gonna send is the best person, Bill Clinton is going to assign on this is fucking Jeffrey Combs. You know? Right?
That's
Didn't he
so
say he was
good.
just,
He says the
I'm
president of the United States.
yeah. So I'm like, I can imagine that conversation with Bill Clinton be like, Colin Dammers. We need to we need to figure this out.
We need
Just
him.
sitting just sitting tooting on his saxophone, being like, let's talk about some ghosts. Where's Milton Dammers? So
Yeah, I
and all
I
the other
mean,
things Bill Clinton was known for.
I guess for Frank, this is a good town to be in with the frequency of deaths because he's got ghosts that are just ripe for the picking and he's just throwing business cards out at funerals. I love when he throws his business cards at people at the funeral. That is
Yeah.
fucked. He's not a lovable main character and yet because he's Michael J. Fox, he still is.
Yeah, like I said, they want to really frame him like he's a hero, but like, and really like frame like, like the news woman is like this like cold bitch, but I'm like, she's
Yeah, no.
absolutely right.
She's
You are
absolutely right.
you are
That
showing up.
article? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I do love that we're also in a small enough town where like that makes the front page of the news. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah. But she looks like a big city like newspaper woman. Like she doesn't look small town. I like her whole look. That like just straight cut bob with the bangs and that power skirt suit thing she's got going on. It's great.
Came out the same year. Really like the no bullshit fucking banged, yellow green jacket and skirt reporter situation. Uh
Yes. Oh,
I
Gail
she
Weathers.
kind of beat Gail Weathers to it. This movie did come out 5 months prior.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
but,
but pause there for a second because now do you see what I mean? Like the 80s vibe versus like it feeling like a 90s movie. If you compare this to like the vibe of like Scream, they feel like they're from different decades to me. I just have to throw that out there.
yeah, no, definitely.
I don't know. Just silliness, but in
Like
in a
a
in a good way.
like a ghost out of the graveyard in Fairwater. Maybe this movie just snuck out of the 80s and just a relic of that decade. It just made its way, just plopped its way up,
Yeah,
just
who even
1986.
knows when the script was written, you know?
Yeah. I
Also,
mean, I
Danny
do.
Elfman did the music for this,
Yeah. I mean,
which
couldn't
I
you
did
tell
not
from
know.
the that, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
No, well, when I
I
saw his name pop up, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I know that sounds like a fucking hard swipe at Danny
It
Elfman,
does.
but
He's very
I
talented, but he
yeah,
definitely has a very distinct sound.
yeah. I love Oingo Boingo. So it's just and I love the Batman theme. They're I mean, that's good. He's just the dude's got a vibe. Hey, you know what? I got a vibe too. So whatever. Van is
Yeah, I
very
think
successful.
any musician would have a vibe, I think.
Yeah. So so you got fucking, Michael J. Fox is just barreling around town, just caution to the wind. Clearly learning nothing, from anything. And I get it, like, I think it's probably just supposed to show like he is, yeah, again, caution to the wind. He does not care about his life, even though I don't know. It's very
Well,
strange.
would you, if like, okay, if you knew that there were ghosts and you saw people like die and their spirits leave their bodies and you know how this whole thing works, like that would be super comforting to me. I'd be like, oh shit, there is something out there afterwards. So I mean, if you're already depressed and just conning people all the time, if you die, you're like, well, maybe I'll make it up to my wife. Like that's not the worst case scenario for him, I would think.
You can make money and help people. Just ask Miss Cleo. You can do both. You
Oh,
can
Miss
do a public
Cleo.
service and also scam a little bit on this side. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, you
this
can
is
do both.
America,
Yeah.
come on. And and then he barrels into the Linsky's house, Ray and Lucy. Ray gives me
Right.
part, he's like, if you take like Biff from Back to the Future
Yes.
and mix him with like Ken Marino, that's the vibe I get from him. Is like, yeah, part
Yeah.
Biff, part Ken Marino, not necessarily party down Ken Marino, but just that sort of just that build, that especially that just that haircut, you
And
know.
like that goofiness. Like there's like this, he's like kind of a bully, but he's kind of goofy and awkward. Um Ray is definitely an interesting character. Like him and I mean, obviously this is meant to be this way, but him and Lucy just I'm not buying that they're married. I would have been more convinced that they were like living together as like a couple, you know?
I feel like this movie tries to really put in some work on making you not like Ray.
Yeah. And what even ends up happening to him? Does he die as a ghost?
Yeah, he gets his
Is that
face
part of the
sliced
rules?
off from Gary Busey, and then just like a pile of his just like hollowed out, just whatever, just splats all over
Like, so
Lucy's
what
car, but she
happened to
doesn't know that.
Ray? What happened to him?
What do you mean? What happened to him? Well,
Like
he's
I
just.
mean,
I
like,
think
is that
he's.
it for him? He's
I think
just
so.
nothingness, like we
I
all
think
have
so.
to actually deal with in real life. Like I was
Him
like,
and
there's this
him and the
spiritual
judge.
thing happening, and the judge too.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked. All right.
Cyrus and Stewart making out okay. I mean, it works out.
I'm
But
glad they did.
so, but I just thought it was funny that the movie really tries to put in some work to really be like, don't worry, Ray's an asshole, because
Yeah.
one, you have to kill him and not feel that bad about it, and then two,
Uh-huh.
um, they really want to be like, hey, don't worry, it's okay that Lucy's like totally gonna like fuck Michael J. Fox like
In like a week.
within, yeah, I was like less than a week
Even if
out of this.
okay,
Don't
let's
even
talk
worry
about
about
this
it.
marriage because she says that their marriage hadn't been good for a long time. And I'm sorry, even if I was in a shit marriage and like maybe I'm planning on getting a divorce, maybe we're separated, I would still mourn the loss of that person way longer than Lucy did. She must have really fucking had some resentment against Ray. And honestly, you're a doctor. You've been giving him money. He's making shoddy investments. I mean, maybe she was just like, this is a good situation for me. Goodbye.
Yeah, I think privately she was stoked. I mean, not
Yeah.
even privately.
She
Um,
was not sobbing at that funeral. Like it was just like light tears down the cheek. Just
right,
real subtle.
right. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's like she gets over that shit really quick. Um, and yeah, especially with the bad business investment or whatever, and then like losing all the savings, and you're just like, they're like really trying to underscore, like, don't worry, Ray's a big piece of shit. She
Yeah. And they're
she
just having a
she's
full
gonna end
on
up Michael J.
date.
Fox.
Like they're literally having a full on date over dinner in front
Yeah,
of him.
yeah, which is, yeah, geez, Michael J. Fox is again also an asshole.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's, yeah. Long story short, so he destroys his fence, which I thought was pretty funny, and
Yeah.
also
And
his
those
lawn
gnomes.
gnomes, like Buzzbow, or I forget the name of that. He's like,
Yeah.
my Buzzbow, my poor Buzzbow. But come on, I'm not a lawn gnome person now that I have a lawn and a backyard too. But what I do have is I picked it up on my way, like driving the moving truck up here from San Diego to Seattle. It's really dumb, but I love it. But it's just a log that some dude used a chainsaw and just carved it into the shape of a Sasquatch.
That's great.
Yeah, so I've just got that sitting out, like it was inside the house. I'm sure my wife is very stoked that now we have a spot for it just outside.
It's
Where
like, oh, finally.
it just sits and hopefully scares the raccoons, I guess. I don't know. But
Raccoons fear nothing.
I'm not a lawn gnome guy, so I'm like, again, they're really trying to make you not like Ray, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, and then also, everything
It
we've learned about
works.
maintaining a grass lawn, it's not the best for the environment. So it's,
Hmm.
what can you do? So,
Yeah.
and one thing I would have liked, so he Michael J. Fox is a scam artist, and he's working with Cyrus and Stu and the judge to make things look haunted, even though they are currently technically being haunted. There are ghosts moving shit in their house.
Yeah,
So yes.
absolutely.
And then Michael J. Fox coming in, and like the vibe I was getting from was definitely like when Bill Murray shows up to Sigourney Weaver's apartment in the first Ghostbusters, and he's
Yeah.
like, you know, she's like, "Do you even know what you're doing with that thing?" He's like, I think so. But
Yeah.
so he's just like, "Oh, yep, this is what this is, something, something, something," and he's got his dumb little things, and then his little baggie of
That is the
souls that
weirdest thing. Is it what is it? It's like a boom box that the
yeah.
like little like bag like comes out of, and he's like, "Do you want to keep it as a souvenir?" Some people like to do that.
Yeah, some people like to do
I
that.
thought that was great.
Yeah. And but between that and then at that very wealthy person's house with the three babies,
Hmm.
I would have liked to have seen more of the scamming and the haunting.
At
I
least two more. I feel like
yeah.
it like two more of them would have been good, like different types of households. But even okay, even if you had seen that newspaper article, if you were that woman and your kids were floating, I mean, even if he is known to be a con artist, like I'd be like, who else am I going to call? The kids were floating. They were in fact floating. So
Yeah.
some crazy shit is going on. She's gonna call
And
someone
then
else.
right, and clearly after the scene in the museum, when even if it was, Stu and Cyrus, like, moving, you know,
Yeah.
desecrating human remains again,
Yeah,
destroying
just
human remains.
destroying ancient remains.
Yeah. Which, I mean, also, well, one, don't, and then two, also, you know, museums are,
Yeah.
come on, let's
Yeah.
fucking do away with museums, let's give
Yeah. And they
let's
don't
give
give a
that shit
shit.
back.
They don't give a
Yeah.
shit about those bodies. So
Right. The judge clearly didn't.
no.
Um, that's awful. So yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of like the scamming. But again, ultimately, like I do think it's pretty fun. But he does see the number etched into Ray's forehead, and that's what kind of what tips him
Mhm.
off. Even though, yeah, I mean, I guess from like, the however many years that he's been able to see ghosts, he, I guess, never ran into somebody, because if the deaths were happening pretty regularly for however many years, it was happening before he got his
Well,
ability
and
to
I'm
see
sure
ghosts.
there's just regular run of the mill deaths as well. So, I mean, those could be distracting him because those are probably happen. I would think those would be happening more frequently than the murders.
So, we find out it's Johnny Bartlett posing as the Grim Reaper
Mm-hmm.
going, and his kind of every person that's died since he died in the chair, everyone's died the same way. It's like, the arteries are all super
Mm-hmm.
clean, everything's fine, but it just looks like there's this much pressure just crushing the heart. So is that a limitation he puts on himself, that is the only way he can kill people? Because I feel like I would just do more of a Final Destination Rube Goldberg situation. I'd try to have fun with it, like see how you actually do it.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, he's the only ghost out of this whole group of ghosts that is going around killing people. So maybe it's not something that they can commonly do. So him reaching in and squeezing those hearts is like already a pretty big deal because Patricia's the one that's carving the numbers into the foreheads.
Yeah. So I just feel like just be a little more colorful with it. I liked
Yeah.
when Ray, leaves Lucy and Frank at the restaurant. He knocks like, the wine over, and he's
Yeah.
like, and just when he walks around, he's like, I can move shit now, Frank. And the way
Yeah.
he said it, he's like, look at me
Think
now.
he felt really good. Yeah,
But
the CGI in this movie is a bit rough. But I mean it was 1996. But I will say, I do think that the Reaper look for Johnny actually looks pretty good. Like because it looks kind of cartoonish, but like in a good way. Like the ghosts look kind of cartoony when, violence happens to them. But yeah, the rest of the CGI is really hard to look at.
I don't know. I think even like in the beginning, like, when he's like kind of coming in through the walls,
Yeah, did we have to have that?
I see. I don't know. I was thinking like I like, yes, clearly. I mean, this is pretty cartoony now, but I mean at the
Yeah, it
time,
was a
you
big
know,
deal.
it's like video games. It's like it's almost okay. Let me. It's almost like 2D gaming is like the equivalent of like practical effects, and like
Mm,
3D games it's like CG. So work with me here, where it's like games on Super Nintendo still look really good. Like
yeah,
that shit like still
yeah.
looks good. Just like practical effects, you do them
Yep.
now, they look good. You do them 30 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, they look good.
Mm-hmm.
30 years from now, they'll still look good. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
now, while CG will and special effects will eventually, computer special effects will get to that point, maybe. It's like, the early stuff, like Nintendo 64 games, like and early like PlayStation games, and like I'm
You know
like,
what
oh,
game
that
I
shit's
always think
hard.
of? This is so random, but the game I
Mhm.
always think of for like just 3D that did not hold up is Virtua Fighter.
Yeah.
Those, oh man, that game looks just awful. But yeah, like you said, like, but then if you play a Super Nintendo game, they look great. They're super fun.
Yeah, if you play Street Fighter 2, it
Yeah,
looks just as good then,
yeah,
as it does
absolutely.
now. Whereas like, yeah, Virtual Fighter, it's a little tough. I
Yeah,
don't know, but and then as far as like Super Nintendo, I don't know if you could say the same
Tekken
for Mortal
even.
Kombat. Mortal Kombat looks better now than it did.
Yeah.
well, well, actually, I don't know. Maybe I'd
No,
have to
Mortal
look and
Kombat
see.
was so dope though, how they did the original one. Because they
Yeah, it
had
was
like
really good.
actual people like doing like the posing and stuff. Like those were real like models and actors that dressed up in those outfits and had to like kick and they took a picture and punch and they took a picture. Like this is the weirdest shit.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Um, and then where were we?
Yeah, what were we talking about? Video games again?
Yeah, I think just the special effects, but no, I
Yeah.
mean at the time it like I think had the record for like the most visual effects shots in any movie, and I know that the movie
Wow.
took a really long time to make because you're kind of the way you're filming it is like Michael J. Fox acting, you know to
Mm-hmm.
nothing to open air, and then in a studio on blue screens you have John Aston and G McBride and the
Mm-hmm.
others doing their ghost bits, and I think the ghosts look good. but I think the ghosts also
Yeah.
look good in Ghostbusters too. And
And the
they,
ghosts, that's a different type of effect though that they're using for the ghosts. Like that's not your normal, like, when Johnny's like stretching through the walls and all of those things, like that's different types of effects. And I don't remember how that works, that like illusion where they kind of like blur over an actual actor in makeup.
um, I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
we could probably get into it, but it's not, not
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know,
it's it's
but
it's
I hear
it's
you
interesting.
when you're digitally creating like a new character,
Mm-hmm.
like the Grim Reaper or Jar Jar
Yeah.
Binks or
Yeah.
such,
Oh God.
it's a little bit more.
What I really remember about this movie is the cover art is so good. I remember seeing it in the video store all the time, just that white cover with the face like pressing through. That's a badass cover. I love it so much. And I felt like I had seen this movie more recently than I did because of how iconic that VHS cover was.
It's funny because Peter Jackson was kind of like lamenting the marketing for this movie and how the posters and like that image like doesn't it doesn't show you anything about what the movie's about, but I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it's still effective for me. I saw that and I'm like, yeah, that
You're
that,
like,
that does
what is
look
that?
frightening. This movie is called The Frighteners. That looks like a frightening thing, even though I don't think anything took that shape or that character even in the movie, but still I don't care.
Yeah.
But I understand where it's like, yeah, that movie, that image does nothing to tell you at all what this movie's about. But I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, with how kind of sometimes just overstuffed and overcomplicated sometimes parts of this movie are,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if anything would have been able to sell it better. I don't know. So
No, the plot has so much going on, and that's really that's really the only thing that like really like lost major points for me because I felt like I was having trouble following things. Like if I was watching, the especially the third act, like there's so many people running around and like, different things happening. I had to like kind of backtrack a couple minutes and go, okay, let me rewatch this to see what the hell just happened. Um, but I do like that this movie feels kind of like a spooky mystery as well. Like it definitely has little like mystery vibes going on there.
I do love a good murder mystery.
Yeah. Even though it's not
100%.
as mysterious as it could be, like some of the plot feels kind of obvious, but like you feel like your characters are trying to, they're trying to figure things out. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Another murder happens after Ray's funeral. Which again, making Ray look like a piece of shit. Like they're even shaming Ray at his own funeral. They're like, I know he wasn't the most generous person, but
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm just like, why'd you have to say that, dude? Why do you have to throw
Yeah, you
fucking
could have
shade?
just say some bullshit.
Why is everyone fucking against Ray?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? He's
He's
fine.
crying more than anyone else at his funeral. That's what I thought was so great. Like him
Sad.
just
Nobody else was upset
bawling.
except for him. But
Yeah.
I did like him falling in the grave and then getting up inside his own casket. Thought that was very cool. I like
Yeah.
that. And then so Lucy's just like, oh, I want to talk to you. Oh, do you have a message from Ray and this and this and this? And he's like, yeah, okay, let me leverage this into a date. I can do this.
Yeah.
What the fuck's with that restaurant that they're at? I love that he was like, oh, I know a place. And then this like medieval castle
I did
restaurant with like jugglers and like
I didn't
axes
even
on the
notice
wall.
that.
Oh my gosh, you'd think you were at like medieval
What?
times. I was like, what the fuck is this restaurant? And so I thought that, but they're having like a nice dinner with like,
That's
I
great.
don't know, fine wines, but wines, I'm not a wine drinker, so I couldn't tell you what's fine and what isn't. But I I was like, is this the only restaurant in the
It
town?
could
It's a small
be.
town, so there could
It's
only be
supposed to be
like
a small
three.
town.
And one of them is just one of them dude's a little eccentric. We have like a medieval situation, but not like medieval times where there's like a show and you eat
No, none
like,
of that.
you know,
A
fucking
turkey
dry
leg.
turkey legs, you know. I've never been to medieval times, have you?
No, me either. I've kind of always wanted to go after seeing the cable guy as a
Right.
kid. Yeah.
My interest or my proclivity for, you know, really hammy, corny shit, would we could think that I, in my proximity just to that, to where that location is in Southern California, at least at the time, thought I would have been once, but I always feel like it's like more expensive than it should be,
Oh,
which
yeah,
makes
for
sense.
sure. That's why I haven't
And
gone.
usually if I'm in that area, I'm going to Knott's Berry Farm.
The food's
So
probably mediocre as well.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So, you're really paying for the show and it, I would assume that based off of the fact that not many people like who live near it have gone, that it's probably more fulfilling if you like have a kid that's like really into that kind of shit. Or if you're really into that kind of shit.
Mm. And that's the other thing. Maybe I'm not. So that makes sense.
I'm kind of saying like
Okay.
if you wanna enjoy that kind of stuff, like we just went to the Renaissance Fair. That was awesome. Like I think that would be more fulfilling than medieval times.
Yeah. So he sees someone else die, sees
Hmm.
another number on this dude's forehead, you know, the guy that's like, great food. He's like, yeah, great food. And then, you know, he sees the number, starts, and then sees the Reaper come in through the window. He drops to the ground. I'm the person where I watch this and I just can't get my mind off. Michael J. Fox, you need to wash your hands again before you leave. Because he drops right to the ground, puts his hands on the floor.
He
I'm like,
did. Oh
bro,
yeah.
wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And I have no idea, but I try to
Yeah, there's
assume
probably
that.
so much urine on that floor.
Mm.
Hmm.
And then he says, or later when they're in the police station and Milton Damers shows up and they're talking about, oh, I found out that Frank Bannister, had left the bathroom, you know, 5 minutes before the body was found, and this and this and this. And I'm just like, dude, like I get it, but like, Frank, like, couldn't you have like
Just
just
gone back to your table.
couldn't you have like called the paramedics? Couldn't you have like called, like, I mean, I guess he knows that the guy walked on, so he knows that he's dead, but I'm like, he just, well, first of all, I guess just they cut away, so you have no idea. I guess he just abandons her at dinner
Well, that's the
and
thing. I'm like,
leaves, because then she shows up at the
he could
police
have just
station.
played it cool.
Well, but
And
or he could have like said, "Hey, help! Someone's dead." You
no, he's
know,
supposed to be an asshole. I'm trying to feed into like his character. Like if he would have just went and sat back at the table, somebody else would have discovered that guy, and then he'd be like, "Oh,
not
I was
my
just here
fucking
having dinner."
problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem. Exactly. Wash your hands of that, both literally and metaphorically.
But then, yeah, yes, and then thank you. So you're introduced. You're back at the police station, and you have this cutaway of Michael J. Fox, who's going chasing after um the Reaper with his ghost pals.
Mm-hmm.
And then they bring what's her face over to the police station saying she's a material witness. I'm like, she didn't see shit.
No, she was in the restaurant. Like, where is everybody else who was dining?
Yeah, she's just as much like outside of the fact that, I guess she was at dinner with Frank, and he is
Yeah,
whatever.
okay. I guess that
I
makes
don't,
her a little bit more special
I
than the
guess
other
so.
guests. Yeah.
So, but you do introduce Milton Damers around this point, and he is fucking dope. He is
Let's talk about
wild.
Milton.
Share me your thoughts on Jeffrey Combs as Milton Damers.
Well, obviously, I mean, maybe I'm biased here, but love Jeffrey Combs. And I like everything he's wearing. I love his like greasy, flat hair. Like he looks, and then I think they made him look like 2 shades paler as well. Like it looks like he is wearing like white foundation to make himself look like paler. And his performance, like you said, it does feel like he's in a completely different movie. Like he's so wild. I just I'm having a little trouble nailing down what area of the FBI he is in. Like is he in like the X-Files division? Like
Yeah,
that's what it feels like, right?
yeah, that's what Fox, Mulder, would probably be more like in real life if he existed. He would not be as fucking cool and sexy as David Duchovny.
Um, yeah, I he's just so bonkers. So okay, so Milton, he truly believes that there are people who can do things, even things as, sinister as murder with their minds. Like he truly believes that. Right? Okay.
Yeah, he was
So
sharing that story, or he's insinuating that certainly a
he's
possibility.
insinuating, but then he also does the flip side of it where he's like, no, you are imagining that this reaper is a representation of you when you like go off the rails, and like that's who you think is murdering people, but really it's just you. Those are two very different types of things going on. So which is it? Is it, you know schizophrenia or something of that nature, or split personalities, or is it he has mind control powers?
And we never really he never really gets to the bottom of it. I did like his death. I thought that was pretty fun.
I did
When his
too.
head gets blown off and then the ghost
It
head shows up
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there, even before the body falls over. I thought that was
that's super fun.
very, very
But
cool.
okay, and then why what are the markings that are happening on his chest? Why does he capture Lucy and take her to the graveyard and then be like, "Oh, we'll be out of here in like 10 hours?" What was that all about? Like I don't understand anything that's going on with him.
Well, all of the yeah, I know, no, but I mean, especially all the markings on him. I figured that was, they insinuate, or they had said earlier that like, he's been doing this for 20 years. He's
Uh-huh.
been, undercover in a lot of cults and sects and things like that.
Uh,
So I was thinking that like, I think he has, doesn't he have both like, like a swastika, and I think he also has
yeah, he has all
the
kinds of weird markings.
the pentagram, on him,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple other things. I think that was my guess. But then also,
Mm.
but then it just also doesn't help because I'm like, I don't know, but like the like weird like Hitler haircut too. I'm just like, are you a Nazi? Like
Yeah, no,
what?
that
Because
haircut screams Hitler for sure.
yeah,
It
so
absolutely does.
no, I'm not saying everyone with that haircut is a Nazi. Do you remember? I don't think
I
he
would
still
stray
has it.
away from it though. I probably wouldn't. I would say maybe don't have that haircut just because it's so reminiscent.
Do you remember when Michael Jordan was sporting that Hitler mustache for a long time? And he's like, "What are you talking about? It's my thing."
No.
Yeah, he's like just the one, like, yeah, I mean, I'm making the things that y'all know, like, and yeah, if you just Google Michael Jordan Hitler,
That's
it'll probably
exactly what I'm doing as we speak.
it'll
Michael Jordan
probably come
Hitler
up.
is exactly what I do. Oh yeah.
And he was just like, I don't know. I think I remember him just being very nonchalant about it, but it was just very funny where I'm like, gosh, I guess, man, if anyone just has that courage and that bravery, hey, let Michael Jordan do it, I guess.
Oh man. Yeah,
After
that
seeing
is.
that documentary, The Last Dance, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to cross him. I wouldn't make fun of that mustache. Maybe he was just trying to do it to dare people,
I mean, he
like
also has like a little patch on the bottom of his lip too. So it's like the same amount of like of a mustache on the top as it is like down here on the bottom.
I think that was early Adolf Hitler days where he actually had the soul patch as well. I'm just
It's
kidding.
so tiny. Like if it's that tiny, like is it still a soul patch if it's that small?
Right?
Doesn't it have
It's
to be
just
a little bigger?
it's just an upside down Hitler mustache
Yeah,
because it's under
literally.
your
It's
lip.
like just like it's like clown paint eyes where there's like a triangle on top and one on the bottom. He's just got that with the Hitler mustache.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I've seen The Last Dance. Don't say that to his face. He'll he'll just make up ways to be mad at you and slam dunk on you. So
Damn.
I just thought that was funny. So I know we're jumping. And here I am. I'm thinking like trying to use some input from earlier. I'm like trying to go a little bit beat by beat
You've
through
been
the
doing a great
movie.
job and I've just been going off the rails. So I think it's me and you're doing a great job at just circling right back.
He really knows a lot. I mean, I guess he works for the FBI. He finds out a lot about Frank Bannister really quickly.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Combs is kind of giving that flashback discussion, kind of where it
Mm.
used to be, and this and this and this and this. We got the great Michael J. Fox long haircut. I don't understand. Never mind. It just gleaned on me. Like why the utility knife mattered that much, but the utility knife is being used to carve the numbers.
Uh-huh.
Um, so
Because that was the first one, so they just kept it.
yeah, that's wild. I was in a really bad car accident about like 14 years ago. I forget. I think I
Ugh,
brought it up here
I
before.
remember.
And yeah, and then I was thinking like, oh, okay, no, maybe it's because you have to like have someone with you like die, and that is how you get to see the ghosts and this and this and this. But no, it's just any traumatic experience. And so it doesn't even be like a car accident, but I'm like, I don't know. I can't see ghosts. What the fuck? You know how
You're
cool
like,
that would
if
have
I had
been?
to go through all that, I might as well come out of it being able to see ghosts.
And I'll be honest with you, I probably would have done the same thing. I would absolutely scam people.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's no way that you would have that ability and not use it for like kind of good, kind of not. Like
Miss
no
Cleo.
matter yeah, no matter what you do with that, like it's just also it's going to be a situation where people don't always really believe you. So why not just go ham with it? Like it'd be super fun.
I know. um, and then the way that Johnny Bartlett targets people, it's pretty arbitrary, right? Like there's
Yeah, it
no,
feels very arbitrary. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason behind why he's choosing the victims he is.
because when you get to the museum, like that's when both, the younger news writer
Mm-hmm.
dies, and as well as uh I know it's a hyphenated name. I forget the name of
Oh
the
yeah, the Gail Weathers, we'll
yeah,
call
Gail Weathers. We'll,
her.
we'll just call her Gail Weathers. Magda, that's it. Magda Reese Jones.
Yes,
Yes.
because he keeps calling her Miss Reese Jones, the
Though
younger guy.
though I thought it was kind of funny, like you go on Wikipedia, it's like Elizabeth Hawthorne is Magna Reese Jones, the snooty British editor of the local newspaper who later dies by a car crash. No, she doesn't.
She does not die by a car crash.
No, she dies by Johnny Bartlett.
Yeah,
What the
she
fuck?
just happens to be in a car crash right before that.
Yeah, so we make our way back to this museum, um, which is a pretty fun kind of situation. Like I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably one of the bigger action set pieces because it goes from
Yeah.
that and then leading into the chase with Michael J. Fox and Magda in this car. This is when we
I
already
love
covered it a
his
little bit. Go for
I
it.
love
You
his
love his.
ghost friends like helping him out, like spinning the doors with the cops in it, like pulling, whatever car parts that was to like get the car to not start. Like I like that they're helping him out. It's pretty cool.
And I guess it's a win-win because the judge also finds the opportunity to go fuck a corpse in this coffin.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, let me just get on this real quick while y'all are continuing with the action. You
Yeah. Oh,
know,
it'll only take me a minute.
yeah, jeez.
Yeah, like when do we think the judge is from? Like Civil War era?
Yeah, 1850s. He's probably around in like he would have been in that town in Back to the Future 3.
Yeah, that's a perfect
Probably.
example. Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
have been really funny if they figured out a way to like, I don't know, just digitally impose
Tie
just
it
John
all.
Aston in the background, like if they had, or just get it if they had that sort of forethought,
Yes.
foresight, I guess. That would have been really fun. Create that. That's the extended universe I want to see.
Oh
Come on, get out of
yeah.
here
That would be
with
great.
Marvel, you know. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I
just
mean,
destroying.
he's gonna do what he's gonna do at that point. Like he is no moral compass for that man whatsoever. He's gross.
Yeah. Let's see where we are with this plot, right? So, Michael J. Fox just gives himself up and says like, okay, I'm done. I can't stop this. I'm just gonna get locked up. And while Lucy goes over to the house to figure out a little bit more what's going on. Well, she goes to Frank's house first and then gets the
Mm-hmm.
message from Mary Shaw that that just saying like, she's the evil, she's complicit, talking about her daughter, right, Patricia,
Mm-hmm.
which then brings Lucy over to their house. That's where Ray gets double killed,
Mm-hmm.
because he goes in and Ray sees is this weird effect, but like Ray could tell, I guess, it was just like a really haunted, evil fucking house
Yeah,
because
well,
he
because
sees it.
Johnny Bartlett's ashes are in there. So I
Yeah.
think that does something to it.
Was that Johnny Bartlett's ashes or was that her dad's ashes?
She says it's her dad's ashes, but it's not.
Right, 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 right. I just watched this movie and I've seen it a million times, so
Yeah.
don't mind me. But yeah, gosh, and then that's when I think shit like really kind of goes off the chain, off the rails pretty quick, is that it's, or
Yeah.
at least when it starts ramping up, because that's when you find out that, or at least, what we kind of knew all along was that, Patricia absolutely is a part of all of this.
Yeah. And like once they are like going to this hospital and trying to, find a place of worship to put his ashes, I feel like that could have been cut a little bit shorter. Like there's a lot of like people getting hit, people hiding, people getting stuck, people getting hit, people hiding. Like it feels like it kind of like goes in circles a little bit. But I will say this, I really like when he's walking through the hospital and it like changes like to the past for just him, and then it
Yeah.
like flashes back again because you never know like when that's going to happen. So I thought that was really cool. And the casting for young Patricia,
Yeah.
those
So
women look related. Like they really look related. It is they I swear they could be the same person, but and they're supposed to be. But yeah, also she's very creepy. Like she's good at just looking menacing.
yeah. For someone who is, you know, arrested, on, being, on charge, with murder, like I said, maybe small town, I guess, man, they just let Lucy just like right into the jail cell, just be like, yeah, go for it. The
Yeah.
person we were just investigating is a material witness, like in another murder connected to this guy. Like, you go, just make it quick, just talk to each other, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah
Yeah.
blah. And that's when she gets marked that she's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
41,
Mm-hmm.
and hey man, Cyrus and Stu come to save the day as well, and they managed to get him out pretty quick, and that's where they come up with this idea of basically killing Frank, at least momentarily, and which
Mm.
is why it's helpful to, she's an
Risky.
what's her face is a nurse, so at least they
And
set
she's a
up.
doctor.
Oh, she's a doctor. Fuck, I'm sorry, that's on
Yeah.
me. I'm sorry.
Sexist.
I'm sorry. So they come up with that, and then of course, Dammers, who again is just like, man, just fucking just barreling his way in every direction he can without
Yeah,
really
why is
no.
he there? What is his purpose? I just
Yeah. While so
why is
they're
he
all
stopping them?
so they're all getting, fucking complicating shit there, while you have Frank finding out that, yeah, Johnny Bartlett's behind everything, and like really his the only, yeah, the only reason is just to keep that body count up,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of keep that going over there. So that's, hey, it seems like a pretty shallow reasoning for doing that, but then also, crazy people are gonna,
Yeah,
do crazy things and justify it in crazy ways.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
um
And that's the thing. There are a few serial killers out there that are like super duper like narcissists, and they like that they're like one of the most like notorious, and like that they have, a certain amount of people that they killed, or like a unique statistic to their name. Like it's a weird fixation. So I would believe it.
yeah, I thought this whole bit, just the kind of final climax, at the, what do they call it, like a sanatorium,
Mm-hmm.
the dilapidated one. I thought all of that was really fun. Yeah, like I said, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of intersplicing of the murders before, and then I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really good. I thought it was really effective. I was reading some reviews saying that like it kind of really falls apart here, but I don't know.
I think
like I
it's
said, I
just
still had
too
fun with it.
long. That's the
Yeah.
only thing. Like, I'm mostly interested in what's going on with Frank and the time lapse looking stuff. Like, I think that's super fun. Lucy feels kind of just thrown in there. Um, that
And kind of, yeah, a little bit of a
yeah,
damsel
like
in distress situation.
yeah, you're like, why did she really need to be here? And then, with Milton, he has that cool death, so that's fun. And I also like the way that they cut Patricia. Like, he's in the past and she like walks up with the gun and then it like flips to current and it's her like now with the gun. And I was like, that's a pretty cool little effect that they did there. And I also think that Jake Busey is really good, like just as a ghost and in the past. Like, I love his character and I love the way he plays it. He feels very evil.
We talk about bad boyfriends. Um, he was a supportive and devoted boyfriend. So
He was really curious about that age difference.
yeah, I know, huh?
Because he an orderly,
Yeah.
or
So I
like
mean,
he was at least pretending to be an orderly.
so never mind. Maybe not a good
He's
boyfriend because
probably, I'm guessing he's
he's
in his
probably 10
early
years older.
20s.
Yeah. So
I
probably
was
just
thinking he
yeah,
was like in his early 20s because his skin is like immaculate and young.
yeah. Well, now it can be forever because he's a little cute little
Yeah, he's a
ghost.
cute little baby ghost.
Yeah. So so a lot of shooting, a lot of screaming, so some heads getting blown off. You
Yeah.
know, I think of I don't know, and then Patricia's like, I'm out of bullets. I'm just gonna fucking just come for you and just fucking take you out myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then it kind of works out. Frank's like, hey, watch this. Bam, get your fucking ghost out of you. And
Mm-hmm.
then right, and then he like drags them into like where they're
How does
and
he
has
end
them
up
follow him up
being a
to
ghost again?
because she kills him because she does strangle him to death. But then in his
Yes.
spirit,
Okay.
yeah,
That's
he
what.
comes and fucking rips her out of her body and then forcing
Mhm.
him into the whole portal, right?
Yeah.
Whatever he calls it. And yeah. And then they're just like, oh no, we'll make it work out. We're both gonna be ghosts. We're all gonna fucking just continue murdering forever. But then no, they get dragged to hell. They
Of
deserve it a
course they
little
do.
more
Thank
than
Christine Brown.
yeah, I know, right? Isn't that wild? Where you just feel like, man, so both people get dragged to hell for
That's not okay. Yeah,
yeah.
they definitely deserve to go to hell. And Christine, eh. But yeah, I like that he gets to see his wife for a second. She's like, no, it's not your time yet. Like, go and be happy. And then all of a sudden, all of his depression and problems have gone away after this incident. And now that he's met Lucy, which I just think is a little silly. I would have liked to have seen him in like some therapy, doing some work, for himself, like instead of just being like, oh, I'm immediately happy now after this incident. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of extra trauma piled onto the trauma that was
Yeah,
already there.
right.
So
Just knowing your wife is up there, just like waiting for you to finish your whole fucking life with this other woman. And then what? You got both?
well,
A tough situation. He's gonna have spent
yeah.
more time with Lucy
I'll be
than
honest, I think
her.
about that sometimes when like people will build like, you know, grave plots together, like couples ones, and then like one of them dies, but then the other just like remarries and is like perfectly happy. But then it's like, isn't that weird
Yeah.
if you're the new husband, be like, well, maybe I want you to be buried with me. We're in love,
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, well,
One on each
you
side.
know, yeah, I know, right? I like that. I'm
That's
sure
how we
it's
do it.
probably that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's absolutely what I would do.
Yeah, you
Me,
both can
me,
come.
me and my two spouses. We're all happy
Yeah,
here.
yeah. It's like yeah,
There's plenty of room for everyone.
exactly. So, but yeah, no, it just works out. And then he's just like, fuck that dream house. I'm just tearing it down and let's have a little picnic. And gosh, I'll always say it's funny, like the any ending for a movie, I just feel like, especially with horror, there's a lot where it's like there's a lot that's really you know just a lot of focus on just like nailing that landing, and I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people, especially horror movies, will say often it's the third act that really falls apart. And then this one,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's fine, I like it, but gosh, I don't know how many times Don't Fear the Reaper has been used as a needle drop, but
Yes.
I'm gonna
And it's
tell
a
you,
cover, the one that they play in there.
no,
That
no,
is
it's
not
the,
the
the
original.
no, that's the Blue Oyster Cult one.
No way.
At the
It
end of this
sounds
movie,
so 90s. It sounds like a cover from another band in the 90s.
I'm almost certain, but whatever. We'll run it
We
to the
could send it
research
to
team.
the
We'll follow
research
back up.
team.
But I was like, gosh, you can use that needle drop everywhere because it. That's I was thinking like, gosh, I don't think I ever get sick of it when that song shows up. I think of
No.
I mean the Halloween movies, of course, the first one and then the most recent one used it. And there's certainly plenty of others. I didn't
Oh, they did.
list any before I yeah, they start playing at the end of Halloween Ends, like when the credits roll. But it's just fucking a great song. So I'm like, I love it. I know I was talking about how I'm definitely like super over it when they use Where's My Mind, from the Pixies in movies. I'm like, oh, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. You know, it's that shit was played already. But with this movie, I'm like, fuck, I could hear Don't Fear the Reaper a million times. That SNL skit does not ruin it for me at all. That song is kind of perfect. So I'm
It
all about
is.
it.
Yeah.
So, and then also I know. And then she, pulls the blanket over her head, trying to be like she's the Reaper chasing after them. I'm like, oh, this is a fun little picnic thing. And I'm like, you are
Trauma.
like really making jokes of just a lot of just decades of dead people, including your
Yeah.
ex-husband. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
the
get,
person who killed your ex-husband and his wife, or
yeah.
his her dead husband, I should say. For the record, it is a cover by an artist called the Mutton Birds.
Mm, the Mutton Birds. I'll
I'm
listen to it
telling you,
again.
watch, go back and listen to it. It sounds off. That's why I was like, why didn't they just use the original?
What if I thought that version was the original version the whole time? That'd be pretty funny. It wouldn't. But yeah,
That
and
would
I
be
mean that
wild.
kind of, that gets us to the end of this movie. It is a long one, I know
Mm-hmm.
long for us, hour 50. I'm like, ooh,
It felt long for me. I'm not gonna lie. Also, this movie didn't like super crush it at the box office. I don't know if you looked into that. I was kind of surprised.
horror comedies rarely do, unless especially expensive ones, like if you're not like Ghostbusters, I don't,
Yeah. It
yeah.
so it had a $30 million budget and it made 29 million
And you're
and some
not, and
change.
usually those budgets when they don't factor in marketing costs, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. So
So that's probably costs more
they
than that.
they took an L on that one. Um
And back in 96, I bet, hey, they made $15 from me on Amazon Prime or whoever that money goes to. I'm sure it turned a profit eventually.
yeah, I'm sure it did. And then yeah, it only has a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think
Which,
this movie goes far for nostalgia. Like if I feel like I don't know. I feel like if you watched it, you know, in the 90s, you're probably going to have more love for it.
I think so, and especially watching it, as a kid. And I think the other thing too, that like, I really think this movie would have made a lot more money if it was PG-13, right? That's like, 'cause the thing is, it's like, it's very silly for an R-rated
Yeah, I
movie,
probably would have.
but it's like just barely, I guess, a little too violent for, at least nowadays, for a PG-13 movie. So,
Such a good call.
that's always kind of the challenge there too. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
because then it's like, PG-13, maybe it makes an extra like $25 million or whatever. Like then you're just like, oh fuck, that's you're looking pretty. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, the reviews are pretty mixed on this. I was kind of reading through some of them. Only because they brought it, only because it showed up on Wikipedia and it's the 90s.
Oh,
Um
good.
Gene Siskel, 2 thumbs down.
Of
Ebert,
course.
only 1 star, but who gives a
Of
shit because they're both
course.
fucking dead. So
Are they both dead
yeah,
now?
yeah, fuck yeah. So they can take those
Also,
shitty
yeah,
ass
they
fucking
bunch
opinions.
of horror haters.
Yeah, they are. And I also fucking fuck Roger Ebert because please don't come at me, Johnny
No.
Bartlett style, just Roger Ebert floating around, fucking crushing hearts. But I just remember he gave a very negative review to the first Ninja Turtles movie, saying, I just can't fathom how four turtles in New York talk like they're from California. And I'm like, bro, they're not like talking with fucking New Yorkers all day. They're in the fucking sewer, like watching late 80s, early 90s television. Of,
Also,
of course they're gonna fucking talk that way. Dude, think a little, you fucking idiot. Think a little, you
Raph sounds
fucking
like
fool.
he's from New York
He does. So clearly
because
that's
he got out the most.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck
The
that.
fuck
Fuck that critique.
the science is there. So fuck Roger Ebert based on Ninja Turtles in this movie. Fuck Gene Siskel and fuck them all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just thought about that. It was pretty funny. Yeah, and just the reviews, a lot of it is like, saying that it's like tonally uneven, which I get, but also at the same
Kind of
time, I'm like,
fair.
does tonally uneven always have to be a bad thing?
No,
Like, I don't know. I
I
like
think
I
it's something
get
you could say about a lot of movies and they can still be okay.
I don't know. So but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the 67 that's on Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, that sounds right. I don't know. What are your
I
thoughts?
think I think my yeah, I think it could be a little bit shorter. I think there's a whole lot of plot in here, like lots of things happening that maybe we didn't need to, have. And okay, one thing, this might be a hot take, but I feel that so Michael J. Fox was cast well because you would not have liked the character of Frank had it not been him, right? Like if it was any other actor playing that role, you would have been like, what a dick. But because it's Michael J. Fox, you're like, oh, I love him. But I don't think he really like gets to do like I don't feel like he gets to have a lot of range as Frank. So I think that would be my only like I feel like everyone else has a lot more to do and like has a lot more fun with it and he's almost like playing like a straight character, which doesn't like it feels like that shouldn't be the case for him, but I still think he does a great job.
Yeah, I think so too. Before we pop into boost scores, I've got something, but I want to hear
Ooh.
some taglines.
Okay, this one has good taglines. I was really excited because I feel
Mhm.
like it's been a hot second. So, first and foremost, it has 7. True 90s, maybe 90s is the hot time for the taglines. Okay, it's got 7. The first one's a mouthful. You ready? Something has put the fear of death in the living and sent the dead running for their lives.
Love the wordplay there.
Right? It's great. Okay. No rest for the wicked. Know that one. You've
Yeah,
heard it before. I like this one. Dead yet?
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
Yeah. And then okay, the rest of them are really good. Your number's up.
Okay, because
And
it.
then we
Yeah.
yeah, because the number. Like, see, I wouldn't have really I didn't make much of that before watching the movie, and because I read these before I read it or watched it. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's more fun now. Um, frightening, isn't it?
Hmm.
That
Okay.
one's fine. Maybe my least favorite. No, probably no rest for the wicked is probably my least favorite. When your number's up, it's up. Someone says that in the movie. One of the ghosts.
Yeah, and I mean that's a common turn of phrase too. Just when
Yeah.
your number's up. It's like when you're I don't know, at the DMV. You know what I mean? Kind of situation.
And it can
Another
feel
kind
like
of
death
purgatory.
there.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
And then I think maybe my second favorite, death is no way to make a living, which they also say in the movie.
Yeah, the judge says to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at some point before he says, "I like them when they're still like that." All the nice judge adages. he shares in the movie. Just those two. Where he can be very thoughtful, but also, I'm gonna fuck that mummy.
I'm gonna go fuck that corpse.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
So
like it. I
it's
think
got
those
some fun ones. Which one was your favorite?
probably the first one. Probably the first one, or just that simple, just dead yet. Even though
Yeah.
it doesn't really explain anything,
Yeah, it
I
doesn't.
it's the
That's fun.
shortest tagline that I think we've heard
Maybe.
so far in the show.
Probably. Yeah.
It's 2 words.
2 words. It's a
So
question. Yeah, I like
I'll
the
think
first
about that.
one. Yeah, it's a good one.
I know I don't do this as regularly as you share the taglines, but I wanted to share the 1996 23rd annual Saturn Awards.
You keep switching it up. So we started with the
Hollywood
blockbuster ones,
Blockbuster
right?
Entertainment Awards. Yeah.
And then we went to Fangoria. Was that one that you did,
Mhm.
the chainsaws? And now we're on Saturn.
Yeah. They're all really good. I
Okay.
usually I just find whichever one's just available. It's the easiest to
Whatever they
find
were nominated for.
because it's not consistent where you can find all of like these like award nominees, especially for
Hmm.
some of like the defunct ones or the ones that no one really cares about.
Yeah.
Especially because they like change the types of categories much more often than like the Oscars
Hmm.
do and whatever. Um, so this movie did not win any of the awards it was nominated for.
Oh.
But well, it lost best horror film. Do you want to guess what it lost to?
In 1996,
Yeah.
it had to have been Scream.
100% it was
Yeah.
Scream.
Had to have been.
Beating out also felt fun 1996 for Nev Campbell because it beat out The Craft as well.
Mm,
Um and
love
Cemetery
that
Man
one.
and The Relic. Remember Relic?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one would be a fun one to watch. That
I
one, as
haven't
far as
seen
like
that in a
mid
minute.
90s special effects, horror films, I think we would watch that. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah.
As well as um Curdled. Do you
I
know
don't
this
even know what
movie?
that is. No, I don't know what
Yeah.
that is.
It's a
Is it about milk?
sorry, rating it. No, no. Blood can
That
curdle
doesn't
too,
scream.
though,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Or
I
does blood
immediately
or does
it,
it or blood coagulates? I don't
yeah,
know.
I immediately thought of milk. So
Right. No, that makes sense. They have gosh, what a I also just want to share a little actually we'll circle back. Um Now, so the thing is with the Saturn Awards, they also do like fantasy and science fiction as and action movies as well, still kind of genre stuff. So
oh,
the best science fiction movie that year was Independence Day,
hmm,
um,
that makes
beating
sense.
out Mars Attacks and Star Trek First Contact. I would say both of those movies are better than Independence Day.
I
Star Trek First
absolutely agree.
Contact goes. I that's I don't think that's even a hot take. That's probably my favorite Star Trek movie. I mean, well, maybe people say Wrath of Khan. I get that, but it's my favorite
No, I
Next
like that. I like
Generation
for
movie.
I love everything Next Generation.
Yeah, and they do get a little fantasy. I guess you can be pretty broad with fantasy, but there's a few different things. But um, so and then the best fantasy movie was Dragonheart that year. I never saw Dragonheart.
Me either.
Yeah, but the competition was pretty slim. So Michael J. Fox also loses Best Actor. Now this does not have to be horror specific. Anything from here. That's what
Oh
complicates it a little
no.
bit. So he was the only person nominated for Best Actor that was in a horror movie.
Mm.
Um, the other nominees were, Jeff Goldblum, Independence Day, Will Smith,
I was gonna
Independence
say
Day,
Will Smith.
Patrick Stewart from First Contact, and Bill Paxton. Love Bill Paxton always
Or
is in
Twister.
Twister. Yeah, it was a good year. All
Yeah.
ultimately losing,
Late
and I
90s was fucking lit.
yeah, it was, but all of them ultimately lost to Eddie Murphy for the Nutty Professor.
Wow.
He does play both
He
Sherman and Buddy and Lance and Papa Clump and Mama
his
Clump
whole
and
fucking
Grandma
family.
Clump and Ernie Clump. I only know this because it's right here in front
I
of me.
know. I was like, you're definitely reading off the screen. I have seen that movie more than I would care to admit.
Yeah.
I'm I thought that Will Smith would have won that one based off of the nominations that you read. Not that I think he was the most deserving, but I think I would have given it to Bill Paxton.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie Murphy does play multiple characters. So I think they were just, and I feel like some of these are just like an excuse, like, how do we get the biggest stars in here? It's like Golden Globes. It's like, let's
Yeah,
just nominate the most famous people we can so we can make
get
this
him
as big of
in.
a deal as we can.
Yeah.
Now Best Actress. The what's her face was not nominated for this, but do you want to guess who won Best Actress?
Oh, no one from the Frighteners was
Mm-mm.
nominated.
Nah, poor Lucy.
Was it Nev Campbell for Scream?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
Beating out Gina Davis in The Long Kiss Goodnight,
Mm,
Gina Gershon in Bound,
mm,
Helen Hunt in Twister, and Frances McDormand in Fargo. I'm like,
wow.
but hey,
Wow.
hell yeah. The best supporting actor, I will try to keep this real quick. Now Jeffrey Combs lost, unfortunately. Um,
For as crazy as he was, they should have just
yeah,
given it to him.
and yeah, I know, right? And I'll just tell you right now, Skeet Ulrich was also nominated, but lost
Nice.
to Brent Spiner, who played Data in Star Trek First Contact. Makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Data is awesome. Brent Spiner's awesome. He
Yeah.
was also nominated. So Brent Spiner, normally this would split the vote, but Brent Spiner was also nominated for that Doctor in Independence Day, who he was pretty great in that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about that shit
Yeah.
twice.
Peter Jackson lost Best Director. Uh, who the people that also lost, this is a great list. Tim Burton for Mars Attacks,
Mm,
Joel Cohen for Fargo,
mm-hmm.
Jonathan Frakes for Star Trek First Contact. Again, he's awesome. And Wes Craven for Scream. All lost to fucking Roland Emmerich for Independence Day. I'm like, I would take all of these movies above Independence Day.
Absolutely. It was a big deal though. Like
It was. I
if
saw
you
it a number of
experienced
times.
1996, man, you knew Independence Day was a big deal. But yeah, gosh, a lot of really good movies. And you know what? I love Mars Attacks. I wish it got more love overall. I don't know how you
Me
feel
too.
about that movie, but I think it's super fun.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like say what you will about Tim Burton now, but man, there was a stretch from like,
Ugh,
yeah, like 86
he
to
was money
96
in the
where he was just
bank.
fucking killing it. Um, I love it.
Yeah.
And best writing, sorry, y'all, it was really a one horse race the whole time. Kevin Williamson,
Oh
like
yeah, Kevin
let's be real.
Williamson. Yeah.
Um, but they did beat Peter Jackson for that, and that was really the kind of, and then special effects it lost Independence Day, and that makes sense. Fine,
Gosh.
blowing
That
shit
see,
up.
that would be like annoying that like if you would have put your movie out a year prior or a year after or something like that, they'd be like, damn, we didn't have nearly as many, things to compete with. But I think even like I feel like 96, 97, and 98 were all pretty great.
Yeah. So there you go. 23rd annual Saturn Awards.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Loved it.
So let's hop into some boo scores. You want me to go first?
Yeah, because I feel like you're more on the obvious end here.
Yeah, mine's gonna be pretty easy. It's a lot of fun. Nostalgia absolutely plays a lot into this. This movie's really fun. I can watch it a bunch. I think some people say it would have worked better as like a Tales from the Crypt episode. I think it would have worked just as fine either way. The story is cool. I would imagine that if it was an episode of the show, I feel like we would have lost Jeffrey Combs's
Oh,
character.
for sure, we would have lost Jeffrey Combs. Because you know
And
what? I wouldn't dare say it because I almost did. Like, you didn't need his character at all. But I'm like, no, you can write Jeffrey Combs a character that doesn't matter the plot in any movie, and I'll be there. I'll be in my seat.
yes, narratively, is it contributing
Narratively,
anything? No.
no,
But come on. But for the fun factor,
for the
come
fun.
on, put them
Yeah.
in there. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll give it 4 boos. I love it. I think it's a really fun movie. Oh, also one thing. Hey, what a way to get around dog's dying. Just make the dog dead to begin with. He's a fun little ghost dog. I
Yeah, he's
love
a
it.
ghost dog and he's eating the jaw. That's
I
cute.
know. I
Yeah.
love it.
His little
So yeah,
bloodhound, which I also
I'll
thought
throw
was
it.
cute.
Yeah, I know, right? I'll throw four boos. I love it.
Oh, okay. Um, I will say it's not going to be four boos for me because I don't have the nostalgia, but
Oh, five boos?
you wish. I think that I'm going to need to rewatch it, and I am going to watch it with my little one because I think he'll have a good time with it. I feel like if I watched this movie two more times, it would probably fit into a four because I need to absorb more. Like it's so much plot and so much going on. So I'm gonna give it a three.
I
Um,
like that. That's still
a
good.
three with potential for growth.
I
Yeah.
like that. And I feel that's kind of a little bit. I mean, I know you were higher on Death Becomes Her than I am on this movie, but I feel like kind of the similar thing. I remember saying that, if I can see myself growing this boo score more
Yeah.
based on, because I feel like the more I just kind of sit in and live with this movie in its world,
Hmm.
I love
Well,
it.
and that's
So
why like we don't, I mean, one of the things that I think we avoid a little bit is new releases because for both of us, we like to like really process and like, I mean, might be showing our age a little bit, but like there are some movies that I have loved for decades. So to try to measure up against some of those, like there are movies that came out more recently that have definitely been in my top favorites, but typically it takes at least 5 years for you to get five boos. Like it's a special place.
yeah. And I mean, gosh, so far, well, we've each have separate five boo movies, but we've only agreed on the one so far. I think there's going to be some more coming up, though.
Has there only been three that got five boos from either of us? I think so.
I don't know. Honestly, I can't even tell you what I gave five boos to outside of Candyman.
I need to have a more organized log. This fucking notes app is not doing it.
We are organized people.
Ready or not. You gave
Ready or
ready or
not? Yeah,
not five.
five. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That makes sense. I'll stick with that. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
have well, folks, we're gonna be having our little end of the year roundup. We'll see. Maybe we'll talk about revisiting any booze scores. But
Yeah. See
also
if any of
I
them should
like
change.
right. We'll see. We'll see how we feel. But yeah, gosh, it was great talking about this movie. I think it's super fun. And I think when people watch it, I think they'll have a lot of fun with it. It's yeah, it's a good one. Would it just, wrap
Yeah.
up your year watching a fun little romp
Yeah.
through
I'm glad that you chose
allegedly
this.
Midwest America, allegedly. Sure.
Sure.
I like how I like how it can look both like fucking Middle Earth, but then also it's supposed to double as like Midwest town in the
Like
same kind
Middle
of
Earth or
same kind of
mid
breath.
Ohio.
Yeah, right. So cool. Hey, that's all I got. Thanks for sticking around with us, everybody.
Yeah,
Anything else you got,
thank you.
Natalie?
No, I'm glad that you chose this movie. Glad
Yeah,
I
me
got
too.
another view.
It's just how can we get Jeffrey Combs in every situation?
I know we have to definitely keep the Jeffrey Combs coming.
I like
And
it.
I
Keep
think
keep
we
it keep it
will.
Combin.
That was
Keep
a
it
winner. That
keep
was a winner.
keep it Combin, the Jeffrey Combs podcast. What we'll do is we'll take out every Jeffrey Combs movie that we've done and continue to do, put it in like one little like playlist, and then send it to them and say like we love you so
We
much.
love you, Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, everybody. 3, 2, 1, ghost.
Thanks for listening to our episode on the Frighteners. You can give us a follow on Instagram at 321GhostPod to see what we're up to, or just chat with us. Send us an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any comments, ask questions, or recommend a movie you'd like to hear us chat about. We encourage you to follow or subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform to listen from, and of course, leave us a killer review. This was our last movie of the year, But we have a bonus episode next to review horror in 2023. Thank you again for listening. And remember, if you develop any type of psychic powers suddenly, use them for crime. 3, 2, 1, ghost.